unfold.
All right, today we are cracking open one of history's greatest detective stories. We're talking about the mystery of a lost Ice Age civilization. And note, this isn't just about old myths. It's about a lost code hidden in stone and ice that could literally rewrite everything we thought we knew about our past. You know, we're all taught that history is this slow, steady march forward, from simple hunter-gatherers to the cities we have today. But what if that's just wrong? What if our story isn't a straight line at all, but a cycle of rise and fall, with an entire chapter violently torn out of the book? And that's really the core question we're digging into. We're going to look at the evidence for a kind of reset button in the human story, a moment that might have thrown civilization all the way back to square one. So you've got two competing ideas here. On one side, there's the standard model. Humans were pretty simple hunter-gatherers until agriculture popped up and sparked civilization about 10,000 years ago. But on the other side, there's this radical idea that an advanced civilization existed deep in the Ice Age, and it was almost completely wiped out, leaving just whispers and shadows behind. The entire mystery really hinges on this one very specific window of time. The world was just starting to warm up after the Ice Age, and then bam! Something plunged it right back into a deep freeze. This period, the Younger Dryas, is our ground zero. It's where the plot thickens. So what on earth could be powerful enough to hit a global reset button? Well, the prime suspect, it isn't from this world. We are talking about a cataclysm that came from the cosmos. It's called the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis. And the idea is that a disintegrating comet or fragments of it slammed into our planet. This would have triggered continent-spanning wildfires, massive tidal waves, and that sudden, crazy climate change we see in the geological record. I mean, it's the perfect suspect for our history reset, an event so devastating it could just wipe the slate clean. Now, proponents of this theory say this event left behind forensic evidence, scattered all across the globe. You can think of them like cosmic fingerprints. We're talking about materials like melt glass, which forms in extreme heat, tiny nanodiamonds, created under immense pressure, and a thin layer of platinum, which is super rare on Earth but pretty common in asteroids. Get this. At a site in Syria called Abu Huraira, scientists found melt glass that required temperatures over 2,200 degrees Celsius to form. To put that into perspective for you, a raging house fire barely gets to half that temperature. The only things we really know of that can generate that kind of heat are events like a nuclear explosion or a cosmic impact. Of course, this is a fierce scientific debate. I mean, it's not settled at all. As you can see here, for every piece of evidence, there are two interpretations. Proponents see that platinum spike and say, that's comet dust. Skeptics say, well, it could be from natural bogs. Proponents see these black mats of soot as proof of global wildfires, while skeptics argue they're just old marsh deposits. This is a legitimate, ongoing controversy in the scientific community. Okay, so let's move from the cataclysm itself to an artifact. An artifact that just shouldn't exist. Over in Turkey, there is a temple so old, it completely rewrites the story of what we thought Ice Age people were capable of. And this quote just illustrates the problem perfectly. The site is called Göbekli Tepe. It's got these massive 20-ton carved pillars arranged in these really complex circles. And here's the kicker. It was built by people who were supposedly just simple hunter-gatherers, thousands of years before the invention of pottery or metal tools or even writing. It's mind-boggling. Okay, but this is where it gets truly strange. Some researchers believe one of its pillars, they call it the vulture stone, is actually an astronomical map, a kind of date stamp. And the date it seems to point to, 10,950 BCE. That's almost exactly when the Younger Dryas cataclysm began. So you have to ask, right? Could the builders of Göbekli Tepe have been memorializing the very event that reset the world? Was this a message carved in stone for us, for future generations? So the theory breaks down basically like this. The animals carved on the stone aren't just animals. They represent constellations. Their specific arrangement in the sky acts as a star map, pinpointing that exact ancient date. And that symbol of a headless man, well, that's a pretty stark depiction of the mass death that would have followed a cataclysm. So once again, we have two competing ideas. The mainstream view says Göbekli Tepe was a ritual center for hunter-gatherers, and the carvings have to do with shamanism or burial rites. But the revisionist theory argues it's something else entirely. A memorial, a sophisticated observatory built by the survivors of a lost civilization to record the day their world changed forever. Now, when you're searching for lost civilizations, you have to be really careful not to mistake wishful thinking for hard evidence. So let's talk for a minute about how we sort the fact from the fiction. So take this site, Gunung Padang in Indonesia. Some researchers made headlines claiming it's a 27,000-year-old pyramid, but that paper was actually retracted. Why? Because the ancient dates came from carbon that was just in the soil, not from anything that was definitively made or placed there by humans. It's a classic case of maybe misinterpreting geology as archaeology. But then you have the Amazon. For centuries, we thought it was a pure, untouched wilderness. But using LiDAR technology, which is like radar that can see through the jungle canopy, we found the reality is completely different. There are massive networks of roads, canals, and pyramids belonging to a vast urban civilization. This is what verified evidence of a lost world actually looks like. It's incredible. So, after looking at the cosmic weapon, the impossible temple, and the real-deal lost cities, what can we really say? Let's try to bring all this evidence together and come to some kind of verdict. Okay, so let's lay out the case file. The geological evidence for a cosmic impact, like what we see at Abu Huraira, is strong. The huge urban centers in the Amazon, that's a verified fact. Göbekli Tepe is a real mind-bending anomaly, even if that date stamp theory is still up for debate. But claims like Gunung Padang, well, they fall into the weak or interpretive category, where it's just too easy to mistake geology for archaeology. So what are the big takeaways from all this? First, the idea of a global cataclysm 12,800 years ago is not pseudoscience. It's a plausible scientific theory with a growing body of evidence. Second, Göbekli Tepe proves that humans had the social and intellectual software for civilization way earlier than we thought. And finally, we are finding real lost civilizations. They're just hidden under jungle canopies instead of ocean waves. So, you see, the real story here isn't about finding one specific place, like Atlantis. It's about a fundamental shift in how we view our own past. It suggests that history isn't this nice, steady climb. It's chaotic, it's fragile, it's cyclical, and entire worlds can be lost and completely forgotten. And that leaves us with one last kinda chillin' thought. The cosmic and climatic forces that can reset civilization aren't unique to the Ice Age, which forces us to ask a really big question. If our history was violently reset once, could it happen again?